So, as I said earlier, the movie industry, most especially the players, have been finding it hard to strike a balance and make a big break. Well, some have been doing that for a while, but then that has actually dwindled in terms of revenues coming from streaming platforms. And now we're seeing that movie producers are moving towards YouTube and putting their movies or their productions on there so that they can earn big time. And I've been talking to my guest, Uchechukwu Okoro, who is the founder and creative lead at Murdoch Incorporated, as regards why that is, most especially, Uchechukwu, what the gains have been for the industry now that we're seeing that commissions coming from the streaming platform has not been that encouraging as regards or in comparison to what we used to have in the past. What has been the gain like?
All right, so as at 2018 to 2019, we had big commissioning. We had the streaming platforms coming into Nigeria and investing loads of money. But along the line, there was a lot of financial recklessness and lack of integrity that happened. And what happened is that these streaming platforms, of course, they're in the business of making money, and then they make money through subscribers. So when those numbers were not adding up and we couldn't defend some of the financial promises we had made at the time, they decided to pull out. And not just pull out, they stopped commissioning, what's it called, local content. And as soon as they stopped commissioning local content, it meant that most of the locally made films didn't have access to streamers again, and they didn't have any other option. They didn't have any other place to look to except for AVOD platform. By AVOD platforms, I mean advert video on demand platform like the YouTube, and essentially that became a messiah platform for us to go to, as opposed to just waiting to be handed a licensing agreement, which we know won't come in no distant time. It's not even happening, because with the way we've positioned ourselves, it's very difficult for some of these big streamers outside Nigeria to even trust the Nigerian creative and the creators. So the best bet became YouTube at large. And that's why a lot of people are going there.
Well, I understand. But then you look at the streaming platforms in terms of the ability to distribute to a wider audience. And now that that seems to be frosty between them and the Nigerian movie industry, how much of a blow is that taken or a dent towards Nigeria's movie industry? Because I'm not too sure if you're really going to make that much money from YouTube as compared to when you have some sort of partnership with these streaming platforms.
So again, is to break down the dynamics between the SVOD platform, which is the streaming platform, and the AVOD platform, which is advert video on demand platform, YouTube, Tubi, and the rest of them. Now, for SVOD platform streamers, they gatekeep your content for a period of time, right? They gatekeep it, and then you don't have intellectual access or intellectual rights to it for the period of that, for the licensing period, right? But then for YouTube, you definitely have access. You have full control of your content. You can decide where you want to take it to. You can decide how you want to, who you want to send it to. You can decide other platform you need to send it to. Another thing is, for streaming platforms, for streamers, it's a one check thingy. So they just give you one check for a period of 3 years. But then for streamers, for AVOD platforms like YouTube, is an ongoing revenue generating system, in that for a period of 3 years, all you just need is time, marketing, and for people to see the body of work. And the moment they see that body of work, they are watching. And once they're watching, it's converting, because you're making money off ad placement, and then you get sponsorship to even produce more movies. So for streamers, the money can come in bulk all at once, but then for AVOD platforms, it comes as the numbers increase.
So basically, you're saying AVOD platforms would eventually, in the long term, pay more. Because I just remember that there was a Nollywood movie that actually racked up about 5 million views. And of course, we understand what the budget can be like for such a movie. But then I like to find out, I mean, we know that local ads, well, according to what we understand, is just between $1 $3 when we look at the gains, so to speak. But then, do you think that that will be worth it maybe in the next 1, 2, 3 years? Because that's what you said, having to wait for the trickles of $1, $3, to start building that financial portfolio. Do you think it's worth it for those who've actually invested a lot of money, then don't have to wait for that number of years to see some sort of revenue?
All right, great. So for the movie that we speak of, my brother, please, we...
I understand. I mean, it's just interesting.
Yeah. So for that movie, for the first week, it made about 5 million, and then when you categorize it within the $1 to $3 CPM, that's about $5,000 to $15,000 for the first week, right? And then a lot of us, we look at the numbers holistically, but it doesn't really work that way because, for example, the CPM at $15,000, the platforms are going to take 45% and then give you the 55% that you're supposed to get, which is essentially the RPM, revenue per mil, right? So when it comes to the streamers and, let's say, theatrical runs, it's still the same thing. We had a time when a known filmmaker made about 1.1 billion at the theatrical runs. But a lot of people look at it and they say, oh, did she really make that numbers at the box office? But when it comes to the nitty-gritty of it, she probably went home with 200 million, because at 1.1 billion, the theaters are going to take half of that, and then she's left with 500 million. Let's even say she invested 150 million in marketing. Once you deduct that, she's left with 400 million. Okay, you need to pay your investors back. They invested money in this movie. Let's even say they invested 200 million, and then you take out that production cost of 200 million. You have 200 million left, and then you still need to work on marketing, because now you have numbers that the streaming platforms are going to work with, which, by the way, that's how they acquire some of these contents. They look at the numbers at the box office, and then they decide whether or not your content or your title is worth being on their platform, and especially if it's going to convert to having more subscribers on their platform. Because AVOD platforms, they make money through, what's it called? They make money through views. But SVOD platforms, like the big streamers, they make money through subscription, and which is one of the reasons they even pulled out from Nigeria. Aside from the financial recklessness, there's the economic instability in Nigeria. There's the what's it called, low subscribers rates, and then there's the account sharing. So in a typical household, you could have a father who has a Netflix account sharing it with 15 other persons. So that affected a lot of the expected revenue that these streamers were hoping to get from Nigeria, having boasted to be one of the African largest producing film economy. But I mean, it wasn't adding up as such, so yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I understand. So let's look at it from the angle of production. It was part of the things that you mentioned in terms of making a movie for the streaming platforms and for AVODs. Which one would you say is capital intensive? That is one. Then two, in terms of the quality of movies that is acceptable globally. Now, we know that could be a bit of a challenge, and of course, everything revolves around budgets and probably some other logistical plans and all. Is it something that Nigerian movie producers are actually meeting up to?
Yes, emphatically, yes. And then I say that because, let's take, for example, a lot of people say, I need to shoot a Netflix standard movie. And my question is, what is a Netflix standard movie? Because at the core of the whole thing, story is king. Every other thing takes precedence. If anyone got to the cinema, saw your movie, and then they came out without an experience, and then they start discussing, man, the camera quality, oh God, if you see that CGI, which means we've actually lost the focus. We've actually lost the intent of the story. So what these streamers and AVOD platforms and the audience are looking out for is not the quality of the camera that you've used. It's not even the wardrobe. All of that is necessary. It's essential. It adds up. but then at the core of it is story. So when you say, oh, I have this movie and then it's a big budget movie, my question is this a big budget movie or is this a big budget story? If it's a big budget story, okay, fine and good. It should cost that much. But if it's just about, oh, and then an alien crashes in Uju Eleba and there's really no story behind it, it becomes a problem to sell that because the streamers are in the business of adapting and licensing movies that the audience, large number of audience are willing to watch.
So you prefer a movie with a good storyline but then poor optics?
So I would prefer a story that considers, a movie that considers story first, the storyline first. Then the optics can come later. They all work hand in hand, but the moment you put optic first before the story, it's akin to putting the cat before the horse, even locking the stable door after the horse has bolted. So it's imperative that we understand that story moves first. Once we have story, we have good cast, and then we have good actors who can bring the stories to light. Then the technical team can come in to say, hey, look, listen, this story that you have, this is what we are going to do to make it optically pleasing so that people can have an immersive experience and so that it's not distracting. And by the way, it's even better to have a story with bad optics and good sound than to have bad sound and good optics.
Well, that's coming from you. That's coming from you anyway. I mean, you're an expert in the field, so I would understand that. So let's quickly, because we're running out of time, let's quickly look at this. According to Statista, a report came out in February 2025 saying that Nigeria has about 107 million internet users, all right? In terms of audience connection, and of course, whatever it is that Nollywood produces for public consumption, does that give them that kind of rapport or friendship or an ecosystem where they are embraced? Why am I saying this? Because we know that having the numbers in terms of internet users does not necessarily translate into viewership. Why? Internet penetration and the affordability to purchase data to watch these movies. So would you say that having that huge number actually means that the ecosystem is good, is symbiotic for Nollywood producers?
Yes, it has solved a lot of problems, and one of which you've mentioned, and another one is piracy. Right? In the sense that whenever you meet someone who is pirating a movie, I mean, a couple of people have met, say, oh, what movie are you seeing? They say, I'm seeing this movie. Is it on Netflix? No, there's this channel. I said, but why are you pirating? You should. They said, but I'm using my data. So in their mind's eyes, they believe that the fact that they're using data means that, oh, they're really doing the right thing. And 107 million users, I mean, it's a good thing, and we haven't even scratched the surface, right? Because the movie that you mentioned that grossed 5 million in the first week actually just it has one of the highest grossing numbers at 10 million views as we speak. So 10 million minus 107, we haven't even, so there's a lot of numbers that we need to explore. Yeah. And if we can bring those movies to a platform that allows them gain access with their data, which is essentially the reason why they even pirate in the first place. Their excuse, and I have my data, why can't I say? So I think it's a good number to explore. I think it's a good market to explore, and we haven't even scratched the surface. If the leading number is at 10 million views, and Wedding Party is leading at 10 million views as well, which means we still have loads of grounds to cover in terms of internet users and consumption.
Yeah, I understand. But then, you know, according to a report in 2019, Nigeria lost about 918 trillion naira, which would have been good money for the country and, of course, for the industry. So would it mean that if the focus is on, okay, let's do YouTube so that we can stave off piracy, does that now mean that we should still not deal with the issue around piracy in the country?
Yes, we should deal with issues around piracy. And then there's this thing that I think it's an American statement where they say they don't negotiate with terrorists, but we all know what happens behind the curtain, right? So we have we've lost quite a number of, we've lost quite we've lost money to pirates, right? So the question is, what are these people doing? How are they pirating? It's no longer the DVD era where they dub and then they sell. This is now the era where they feel that they can download your content and then they can distribute it to different platforms, to their friends and anybody that would want to, that cares to see. Now, the pertinent question is, how do you solve the problem so that they don't feel like they are spending much? Because the problem is, I'm spending too much. How do I get to pay for subscription? How do I get to subscribe to a streaming platform and then I pay and then I buy data and then I use it as well? Now, there are, we can meet the telecommunication networks and say, okay, can we create a package that can allow for people to subscribe? And then once they've subscribed, they still have access to packages that allow them watch on these platforms. Let's say a typical stream subscription budget would be around fee would be around 1,500 naira. So can we have a subscription-based plan where the 1,005, it could be 2,000, then 1,005 will be remitted to these streamers, and then it gives them access to watch whatever it is they want to watch. If we do that, we've found a way to tackle this piracy within Nigeria, because we know how it is. Once there's a good title out there and then they can have access to it, you find your movie on Telegram. You find your movie, if you're on a safer note, but if not, you can find it on TikTok and then they can divide it into 100 parts, and a lot of people are saying it. So it's just to find a way to neutralize it first before enforcing, because these people are very much anonymous and you can't get to hold of them. It's very difficult to track them.
Yeah, and you know, if that is not dealt with, it's still part of ways whereby the industry and the country would eventually still lose some money. Yeah. So we understand that ads cannot pay all the bills, all right? I mean, know that to shoot nice movies with good scripts, good storyline, and of course, good camera, lighting, and all that, it's still going to cost a lot of money. So I'm wondering, how are producers going about getting their funds? Are they looking at areas around maybe crowdfunding, sponsorship, brand placement, you know, to raise the kind of revenue that can help them produce a movie of standard and ensure that whatever projects that they have in the pipeline is sustainable at the end of the day?
Yes, so at the Academy, one of the things that we've exposed some of our students to is finding new ways of doing old things. Now, we can't just wait for the AVOD platforms to hand us the $1 to $3 CPM per 1,000 view, right? So one of the things that we've done is to expose them to business models that allow them even make money before they start shooting. I'll give you a typical example. We spoke about ad placements, which is one of the areas that most producers haven't even explored in Nigeria. For example, you have a scene, and in that scene, you have the, let's say, the breakfast session. In that scene, you have a breakfast session. And on that breakfast table, you have lots of beverages, you have lots of margarine, you have lots of anything that they can consume. So the intelligent thing to do, once you note that in a script, once the writer has inferred that in a script, is to reach out to companies and say, hey, look, listen, we have this A-list actor who is going to be in this movie. And in this scene, we're going to see this actor consume this product, which is an advert placement for you. This is how much you would need. It's not going to, it's in perpetuity. As long as people are seeing that movie, that brand is going to be there. Even if you rebrand, a lot of people would look at it and say, oh, what brand is that? Oh, they used to be this, but now they are this. Once you can be able to pitch and effectively communicate that emotion to them and make them see the business and what you're doing, then you're even making more money before the money starts coming in from the AVOD platform. So yes, and
kind of makes sense. Yeah. Kind of makes sense. Okay, so before we wrap up, I understand that the social media platform gives room for freedom, for expressions, and of course having most of your works as a movie producer being explored, being consumed by a larger audience. But then you would still find out that, for instance, platforms like YouTube would have a lot of movies that are substandard in terms of the camera, in terms of the storyline. Everything is just messed up. And that could actually clog movies that are highly rated from being accessed and viewed. Now, how do we strike a balance between having quality movies on those kind of AVODs, as you called it, and weeding out other productions that just does not cut it?
Consolidation. It starts with consolidation. The movie you mentioned grossed about 5 million in the first week. And what happened the next week? We had loads of TVs coming up. Abraham's TV, Uche's TV. A lot of people started putting up TVs on YouTube and started creating their own niche platform. And that's the problem. That's the problem that we're having. And the moment we consolidate and then we bring studios come together to say, we have this one particular channel, and on this channel we need to aggregate, we need to have quality control steps for movies that we upload on those channels. Remember, we're trying to mirror the SVOD platform that just left, and what they've done is to build a one-stop market where people in South Africa will have their content, people in North America, South America, all of these titles are in one place. And the audience, the audience are quite intelligent. They know what they want to see. They essentially know what they want to watch. And the moment we consolidate, it's easier for the audience to know where to go to. We have a universal platform. And in this universal platform, you have different studios, independent studios coming in to say, this is the movie we want to produce. And once those movies are produced, the audience can tell, oh, whenever I need to see something reasonable, this is the channel I need to go to. So essentially for that, it's basically on the audience. They know what content it's not worth watching, and then what they really want to watch, and they know where to find it.
And definitely, if you're able to channel that number, towards watching movies that actually make good scripts, good production, it's more money for those who actually put money down to produce those kind of movies. We hope that there would be some sort of growth in terms of Nollywood, and of course there will be some sort of growth in terms of the storyline, like you mentioned, and the overall production quality, because at the end of the day, we're selling not only to Nigeria, but to the outside world, and to make more money and connect with a lot of people and transmit that energy in order to make more funds for the industry and for the country. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we hope that we will get to that point as a country, and of course, pivoting that on the continent. Thank you so much, Uchechukwu Okoro, founder and creative at Murdoch Incorporated, for coming to the studios to talk about this.